The discussion comes just 12 days ahead of the next ministerial conference of the WTO in Geneva, as criticism at the slow pace of negotiations that began in late 2020 continue to mount.
What we want is that legal certainty. There's a very easy way of getting that legal certainty: a clean vaccine waiver along the lines that was proposed. The consequences of this, not only for the lives of so many people and the health of so many people, are clear, but the fact that the advanced countries, in Europe in particular, are not willing to put the lives into account of millions of people all over the world has undermined support for globalization and is leading to a more divided world with untold consequences going forward.
The negotiations have been shaped more by disagreements between member states than agreements, with WTO Director General Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala launching a smaller consultative group in order to break the stalemate in December of 2021. That produced a new text proposal for a TRIPS waiver, under which eligible WTO members would be permitted to waive certain IP protections in order to facilitate the production and supply of COVID-19 vaccines, and only vaccines, which has since been criticized as too limited in scope, excluding other elements like testing, therapeutics, ventilators, and other related materials.
This should have been simple and straightforward. It is frankly the minimum we should expect in the middle of a pandemic, when people are dying, to ensure that governments can take steps to protect public health without WTO rules coming in the way. And it should have happened long ago. It would have allowed qualified manufacturers in developing countries, and we know they are there, to produce these life-saving vaccines, helping secure the supply that was needed for people in those countries. Instead, negotiation has been derailed by a number of rich countries,
with a view here that both the WTO and the TRIPS mechanism is no longer fit for purpose, and that no deal is better than a bad deal.
It is a text that is trying to be rammed through an undemocratic process where we are being given arbitrary deadlines to try and get some kind of consensus and agreement that will actually not really meaningfully help anybody. And we can go through the reasons for that. It is not a credible text. It should not be agreed upon by countries in the global south. We have told our own governments, particularly the governments of South Africa and India, to not sign on to this text. It will actually be a worse deal. It will tie our hands for future purposes, and it will actually not give us the space and the freedom to operate in the way that we need.
An argument that while this might be about COVID-19 today, that this is more broadly about access to medicines globally, and WTO negotiations that could set a bad precedent for pandemics in the future. Sherwin Bryceby's SABC News, New York.